let's move on to the state of Tamil Nadu and talk about what's happening, what are the projections showing as far as Tamil Nadu is concerned. A very interesting setup. You all know about it. This is the first big elections we are seeing without Jayalalitha and Karunanidhi, the two big stalwarts who dominated Tamil Nadu state politics and even played a big part in the central politics for several terms and years. And now in their absence, it's going to be an extremely interesting contest that we see. So let's begin with the key takeaways when it comes to Tamil Nadu and what the Times Now See voter surveys really thrown up. Again, I'm emphasizing, we got you the seat share and vote share already. Today we're going to talk about personalities. Elections are a lot about personalities, people, what they're promising, how people perceive them, how people perceive their aura, their character, their work that they have done. In Tamil Nadu, right now, as per our survey, more people believe that Mk Stalin may be a more suitable candidate, CM candidate for Tamil Nadu than anybody else. But it's not a very huge gap. Unlike West Bengal, where we saw that while over 54% said for Mamata Banerjee and just about 24% for Dilip Ghosh as the second candidate, the gap here between Mk Stalin and number 2, Palaniswami, is not so wide. So it's actually pretty open-ended right now. 21% people say that they're not at all satisfied with the AIADMK government, not at all satisfied. There were some who were somewhat satisfied and a percentage that said, well, we are very much satisfied. 46.9% also said that they're angry and want a change in the government. This is what people are right now saying in our survey. But when you keep states aside and ask about other personalities and ask about the Centre and Prime Minister Modi's performance, what you see interesting in states like Kerala and Tamil Nadu is that there is a significant percentage who say that they're not happy with even the Centre or Prime Minister Modi's performance. 51% saying not at all satisfied with PM Modi. 31% have also said that they feel the absence of Jayalalitha and Karunanidhi, and that they feel that will impact the elections. Let's break down the CM question for you and see how various names have actually performed here. So right on top, like I told you, was Mk Stalin. 38.4% actually believe that Mk Stalin is the most suitable CM face. And Palaniswami got about 31%. So that's the gap. It's just about 7.4% between the two. There were also about 4%, 3.9% to be precise, who believe VK Sasikala is a good CM candidate. Kamal Hassan, much ahead of that, 7.4% believe that he could be a good CM face. We don't know how this will translate into his party's performance in the state elections, but they are going to be fighting in over 154 seats, if I'm not mistaken. Rajnikant also got some votes. Some people clearly still believe that he can be the CM and will be a good CM. And then there are the rest, Ramadas, Alagari, Paneer Selvam, and the others who come into the fray. So this is as far as the breakup is looking. Let's say good evening to the panelists who are joining us right now. Kovai Satyan of the AIADMK, A. Saravanan, spokesperson for the DMK. Sumanth Raman, political analyst, joins us this evening, and T.S. Sudhir, political analyst as well. I'm going to start with our experts. Sumanth, let's start off with you. Your view on the response we seem to have got from our people on the most suitable candidate. The gap, is it enough really, or does it tell us a story?
Look, if this poll had been done maybe 6 months ago, Mr. Edapadi Palaniswamy would have not have been anywhere near Mr. Stalin. I think the from 10 or 15%, the man has taken it to a 5 or 6% difference between the two candidates. So I think that there's been a big surge in the AIADMK over the last couple of months in particular. I'm not sure, how accurate this survey is going to be for two reasons. One, it talks about Rajnikant. Rajnikant announced his exit at least a couple of months ago. So I don't know where that comes, where they are getting that 4% want Rajnikant as chief minister and so on. And the second point is about Shashikala herself, where you talk about, Shashikala has also withdrawn from the fray. Though the AMMK of Mr. Dinakaran is present and is contesting. So I'm not too convinced about how accurate this poll is with relevance to the present situation in Tamil Nadu. This is clearly a fight. This is not a landslide win for any party. Each seat is going to be fought extremely bitterly contested. The DMK Congress combined definitely has a slight edge, but if you compare with the situation maybe 2-3 months ago, the fight has definitely narrowed. But the DMK Congress combined, if they do come up with a good set of candidates, because I think that the AIADMK has virtually renominated its entire list of 2016. They just reproduced that list now. And that may impact on their fortunes because there is some local anti-incumbency against the MLAs. Though people may like Mr. Palaniswami, the MLAs, not all of them are very popular. So there could be some local anti-incumbency. But then to take advantage of that, the DMK needs to come up with its own list with the new names and new faces. If they are also going to renominate the same faces we've been seeing for the past 15 years, like what the AIADMK has done, then that advantage that the AIADMK has given the DMK today by renominating so many, almost all their sitting MLAs, that advantage may be lost for the DMK. But as of now, the DMK is slightly ahead, but this is an open race, and it's at the moment, I think it would take an extremely foolhardy person to make any prediction right now.
Okay, fair enough what you're saying, and I know that you've stuck by this, that you've constantly seen the numbers change on ground, the sentiment change on ground very quickly. But yes, I think largely everybody will agree. It seems to be a close fight as of now. Let me actually bring in T.S. Sudhir as well. T.S. Sudhir, the fact that between Stalin and Palaniswami the gap isn't much, and we are looking at a situation where the AIADMK has already been in power for 10 years. Palaniswami as a leader wasn't really even spoken much about until a couple of years ago.
Absolutely. In fact, most people had been setting expiry dates for Palaniswamy as the chief minister, that he may not last beyond 3 months, he may not last beyond 6 months, he may not last beyond a year. TT Vidyanakaran was all the time talking about sleeper cells of his within the AIADMK. But to the chief minister's credit, he has survived for 4 years. So in that sense, there has been some kind of a political stability that he has managed to give to the state of Tamil Nadu. The big difference between the era of Mr. Karunanidhi and Ms. Jayalalitha and now is that there were votes. If Ms. Jayalalitha or Mr. Karunanidhi went to any constituency in Tamil Nadu and asked for votes, votes would be cast in their name, even though the people there would have some issues with the local DMK or the AIADMK candidate. That unfortunately is not going to be the case anymore, especially with Edappadi Palaniswamy, because he's not really seen as a pan Tamil Nadu leader in that sense. Yes, he has survived as chief minister, he has worked as chief minister for the last 4 years, but there is still a very sizable section of the electorate in Tamil Nadu which still sees him as a bit of a stopgap arrangement, as a person who got lucky to become the chief minister after the entire revolt by O. Paneerselvam. He's still seen in some parts as a leader who is dominant only in the western part of Tamil Nadu, as a leader of a particular community in Tamil Nadu. So there is that sense. So he's still not grown big enough to fit, to step into a Jayalalitha shoes, which of course will be a big thing for him to do. But yes, he has done well. If you compare the 2019 performance of the AIADMK, the AIADMK can actually fancy itself to do better than its performance in 2019 in 2021. But yes, it's going to be a long haul as far as the NDA is concerned, because there are lots of ifs and buts. As Sumanth pointed out, the fact that there is going to be local anti-incumbency against many of the sitting AIADMK MLAs who have been renominated to fight the election this time, that is going to be a big task. EPS cannot go to the constituencies and say, vote for these men and women in my name. That will not take place. And if the local MLAs, the candidates, can still survive the anti-incumbency, whether they're able to do that, on that will depend how well the AIADMK and the AIA Alliance by extension does in these elections in Tamil Nadu.
Okay, in fact, that's a very interesting point that both of you have raised, and I do want to get a response from Kovai on it. But very quickly, let me also bring in the next set of findings and just emphasize on those as well for our viewers. We did ask the people in our survey on what they thought about AIADMK government's performance. About 38% said, well, the performance was average, and 32% said it was poor. The lowest number was actually the ones rating the performance good, which is about 29.9% saying the performance was good. Still, an optimist would say, I don't know how data analysts will see it, that if you take good and the average categories together as possibly people who may be willing to give Palaniswami a second chance, that takes it beyond the 50% mark. But here is another side of it, and this helps you really then get into what people may be thinking into their minds and bring out the insights. We also ask people, are you angry with the Tamil Nadu government and the work that they have done? 46.9% said yes, we are angry and we want to change the government. So we are angry and we want to change the government. 46.9% voted for that. Then there were 33.3% who said we are angry, but no change in government is needed. So they're not exactly very, thrilled with the performance, but they don't see an alternative. They don't think a change in the government is needed. And then 19.8% said not angry, no change needed. So if you combine these two together, again you're looking at a little over the halfway mark, or a little over 50% to say people saying no change in the government is needed, whether or not they're angry and disappointed with the performance. So it's very, very close. It's still open-ended. Let's ask Kovai Satyan Kovai, in such a scenario, why does AIADMK believe that a lot of its current sitting MLAs can be repeated and they can overcome the anti-incumbency factor?
Yeah, I'm happy to note this perception in the debate, which certainly, when the perception of such senior analysts can change, definitely the minds of people have also changed. Yeah, it is true that EPS didn't have that dynasty hierarchy to boast about, cannot call himself as the Prince Charming or whatsoever it is. But both of them debuted at the same time, MKS and EPS. 87 they were MLAs, and today he has become the leader of the state. And yes, definitely he has led by example by his unique governance style and with the plethora of schemes he has done for the different strata of the society. I would say it's still a long way to form a perception before voting, because you always have the cat on wall people who can swing on either ways. It depends upon the kind of election campaign work you do on the ground. So majority of the MLAs who are being nominated once again, who got a ticket again, are seen as the son of their soil, and they have worked hard, toiled hard during the times of COVID, and they have stood by the people. They are seen as ones who are a part of the family of each and every constituencies where they belong to. But that's not the case with DMK. Hardly people can recognize a DMK MLA of their own constituency. Hardly they can count the number of times they were there when it was needed the most, including their leader. When there were floods in Chennai, they could only see MKs flying out of the country. He could be seen in Singapore or he could be seen in UK. So taking into account of all these, let me just refresh the history. April 1st, 2016, a survey said DMK is going to form the next government in Tamil Nadu. On May 16, there were 4 or 5 exit polls which said, the exit polls say that there is a high anti-incumbency for the ruling government. So everybody said, no, the doors are open for DMK. When the result was announced, we created history by forming the government. A day or maybe even an hour is more than enough for the people of Tamil Nadu to analyze, to evaluate and decide. And yes, when the battleground pitch is heated up, when we are just about to hit the battleground and going to do the legwork, you can certainly see there will be a paradigm shift in the minds of the people. There is already a paradigm shift, because when you compare MKS and when you compare EPS in the same equilibrium, that shows the kind of caliber that he had raised of all the odds, of all the challenges he had thrown. People said, no, MK is different. You cannot compare any other leader with him. EPS cannot be compared. This was the talk 3 years or 4 years ago. Even MK said, with just a thump of signal, my government is going to fall. He threw so many challenges against him. He overcome all the odds, gave a stable government, launched very blue-eyed schemes, he created benchmarks in the governance, which will be the talk of the town going forward. I say, when there is a comparison between MKS versus EPS out in the open in the public debate, that itself shows the kind of growth he had proved himself the last 4 years of tenure.
Well, let me get in Sarvanan to respond to that. Sarvanan, interesting things that the polls have shown. Now, while as a suitable CM, they have put MK Stalin in the lead, the gap isn't much. Now, what is your response to this? MK Stalin, a known face, established face, comes from the biggest, one of the biggest of the families, political families of Tamil Nadu. On the other hand, Palaniswami, who's literally come off into his own only in the last couple of years.
Yeah. Tanvi, I will call anyone who calls this election a close fight foolhardy and totally biased towards the AIADMK government. And Mr. Sudhir was talking that he was happy that there was a perception shift in the analysts. There is no perception shift with these analysts. They've always been supporting the AIADMK government and they have never once criticized, and they've always criticized the DMK government and our leader, Mr. MK Stalin. So there is no surprise here. This perception is not going to help anybody on the ground. When we talk about the government, see, the major thing, one of the things said was that we claimed that this government will fall, but Mr. Edappadi Palaniswami was able to continue this government so long, 4 years. That is the precise problem here. The government continued because of the direct tacit support from the BJP. And what is the quid pro quo here? All the policies, all the RSS agenda has been implemented in the state of Tamil Nadu. Tamil Nadu, we take pride that there is a Dravidian rule. But in the last 4 years, it was not a Dravidian rule, it was an RSS rule. All the policies, everything. The AIADMK government has not voted against any single bill that has been brought in by the BJP at the parliament. They had 37 MLAs, MPs during the previous parliamentary thing, but they did never vote. And against this triple talaq bill, Anwar Raja was vociferous against his attack. He attacked the bill. We were all very happy that AIADMK is going to vote against this bill. But unfortunately, Mr. Anwar Raja was not given an extension. He was not given a second term. And the AIADMK government voted for the bill. If not for the AIADMK and PMK, CAA would not have been a law. Their 12 votes decided the fate of this CAA within Rajya Sabha. So this is the kind of treachery. And if you look at what they have done for the state of Tamil Nadu, they have betrayed the interest of the people of Tamil Nadu. They opened up TNPSC. See, TNPSC is Tamil Nadu Public Service Commission, where only the Tamilians or people who are domiciled here will be able to write the examination. The Deputy Chief Minister, Mr. O. Paneerselvam, said he made an amendment, said Tamil is not essential to write TNPSC exams, which ensured that North Indians, people not from the state of Tamil Nadu, people who do not know Tamil, became government servants. They wrote TNPSC. See, already we are having a glut in the job market. This is done deliberately by the Edappadi government so that to please their bosses. This is the quid pro quo they were having. Apart from this, if we look at every other, can I complete, sir? I know you are getting excited. You can save it when I complete. So this is the kind of thing. The people are angry. You were talking about two things: people who are angry and people who are angry. There is total anger on the ground. See, there is this rising petrol prices and rising LPG prices. What this government has done? They say they are in alliance with the BJP at the center. What have they done? Why can't they reduce the taxes? We did it.
Okay.
When DMK was in power from 2006 to 2011, three times we reduced the tax and ensured that the common man does not suffer. And now,
well, I just want to.
And Tanvi,
okay, so you've raised a list of issues.
10 seconds. 10 seconds more. 10 seconds more. Yeah. See, this is the government which is not able to reduce the LPG prices. Now they are promising the sky to the people. They are saying they're going to pay 1,500 rupees. In 2016, the promises made by them has not yet been fructified. They were not able to fulfill those promises. And look at our leader, Mr. MK Stalin. He is able to run this government. All his statements during COVID times and every other important issue, whatever our leader, Mr. MK Stalin has spoken, that has
so I'll tell you what. So
Kova
is going to be with me for the for the entire 45 minutes. At 9:30, we start off the conversation on fuel in just a few minutes from now, and I'll get Kovai to respond on that at that point. But let me just remind you, I know, Sarvanan, you're getting agitated.
No, there is no agitation
you're trying
at all.
to explain
When
a lot on ground.
No,
Let me
Tanvi,
also say
when 3%,
these
no,
polls,
Tanvi, let me say
the
this. Yeah, Tanvi,
projections that we've done,
let me say
the
this.
projections that we've done definitely shows DMK in the lead. I just want. Okay.
Absolutely,
I just
agree.
want our
That is-
viewers
see,
to
Tanvi,
also
that's
know
what
the
Tanvi- that's what
projections that
Tanvi-
we've done
no, that's what
based
Tanvi-
on the surveys that we've carried out across states also showed DMK in the lead in vote share and seat share. That being said, there are some other interesting points when it comes
Tanvi,
to
that's what-
viewing the AIADMK's alliance with the BJP, with the Prime Minister's work, the central government's policies, and Suman, as you make your other point, also tell us that how much of that will have a bearing on how people vote for AIADMK, because over 50% of the people in Tamil Nadu are not happy basis this survey. They're not happy with the centre and Prime Minister's work.
Look, Tanvi, the BJP at this point of time is the big millstone around the AIADMK's neck. In fact, there is a point of view that without the BJP in their alliance, the AIADMK may have been actually much more comfortably placed and may have even gone on to win the election. That is a very strong perception, prevailing in the state. But the BJP, of course, will not agree with that perspective. But you see, that is why the DMK targets the BJP extensively throughout this campaign. The AIADMK is dismissed. They are only proxy of BJP. Actually, what is happening in Tamil Nadu is BJP rule. BJP will enter Tamil Nadu. Then all your jobs will be taken away by North Indians. Tamil culture will be crushed. Tamil pride will be hurt. So this is the narrative that has gone on day in and day out. Now, whether it is true or not is immaterial. But this is the message that is going out to the people of Tamil Nadu on virtually every TV channel in Tamil, day after day for the last 2 to 3 years. The BJP will come, BJP. So this entire election, the target of the DMK, because EPS has actually not done badly at all. In the last 1.5 years, the unanimous opinion is he's done a fairly good job. And there is no anti-incumbency significantly against the state government. But there is anti-incumbency against the BJP. The BJP is not liked in Tamil Nadu, and there is significant anti-incumbency that still exists. Tanvi, I want to draw your attention to the 2019 Lok Sabha election. Along with that, that election was swept by the DMK Congress combined. They won 37 out of 38 seats at that point of time, and subsequently added one more seat, so 38 out of 39. On the same date, the assembly by-elections were held to 22 seats. Yes, they were all sitting AIADMK seats, but the AIADMK was half as strong as it is now, because subsequently the Chief Minister has picked up a lot of steam. That ended as 13 seats to the DMK and 9 seats to the ADMK. So in the midst of a complete rout in the Lok Sabha poll, in the by-election held on the very same day, in the very same polling booth, the same people chose the DMK Congress combined for the parliamentary seat and went to the AIADMK combined in 9 of those 22 assembly seats. That is how the AIADMK government continued in power. If they had lost all those 9 seats, they would have lost the majority at that point of time. So the anti-incumbency in Tamil Nadu is predominantly against the BJP government at the center. For instance, the fuel prices, yes, people ask why can't the state government reduce VAT? They raised it by 3 rupees last year. But the anti-incumbency is not so much. I mean, I'm doing everyday phone-in shows with people from different parts of the state, and I've also been going and meeting people. The unanimous opinion is, sir, EPS is not bad. He's done a decent job. But, they are aligned with the BJP. And believe it or not, a lot of Muslims who were AIADMK voters say the same thing. Sir, we have voted for MGR and Jayalalitha all our lives. This is the first time that we have to change. And that's because AIADMK has signed up with the BJP. So the BJP is a bit of the loose the weak link in the AIADMK chain, and that is what could eventually help the DMK, because that entire 15% minority vote is now getting completely consolidated for the DMK Congress combined.
Okay,
They're starting
so
at
you've
15%.
raised a very
AIADMK is starting at zero.
Mr. Sudhir, what do you feel, that will that be a burden and overshadowing factor on the AIADMK, the BJP factor?
Well, for long, the AIADMK regime has had to kind of live with this entire reputation that it was being remote controlled by the BJP government for various issues. There would be IT raids, there would be ED raids, there would be raids on different kinds of issues, and all of them would, in some way or the other, be linked to what was happening with the AIADMK party and the government by extension. So that has the fact that the AIADMK today is seen as an outpost of the BJP at the center is pretty much a reality, and that is a reputation that could cause the BJP dear. I'm not so sure whether we could issue a blanket statement saying that there is no anti-incumbency against the AIADMK. I don't think any government that has survived for 10 years in office will have no anti-incumbency, and to say that it will lose only because of its alliance with the BJP, I think that would be an erroneous statement to make. Yes, the BJP is a bit of is definitely a liability for the AIADMK, because in Tamil Nadu in particular, it is seen more as a Hindi party, it is seen as a North Indian party, and especially in the last so many years, it has been seen as remote controlling the AIADMK. So would the Tamil Nadu electorate want to vote for a party which is going to continue as an outpost of the BJP, a BJP that does not have more than a 3% vote share in Tamil Nadu, whether it would want it to kind of control the state by the back door or do backseat driving? That's a decision that the electorate of Tamil Nadu will have to take. Yes, or the other major factor is the whole culture of freebies, because for years we have seen it: free television sets, free fans, free mixies, free grinders, etc. That has always been a culture as far as Tamil Nadu is concerned. And this time, the kind of promises that have been made by the DMK and the counter promises by the AIADMK, what kind of effect they will have, or whether they have kind of cancelled each other out. MK Stalin offered and said the DMK will give 1,000 rupees. The AIADMK said 1,500 rupees in order to neutralize the high price, the steep price of gas cylinders. They said we will give 6 gas cylinders free. So how will all this play out? Plus, of course, the individual candidates at the constituency level. Finally, Tanvi, elections are fought finally on the whole concept of perception. Whether the people feel that they are happy and whether they will get more by continuing the same person in office, or should they give the other person a choice? Finally, it will come down to that, and that's what the DMK will be banking on. Their 2019 performance, where they actually led a very strident campaign against the BJP, voting in the BJP at the center, which is why they won 38 out of 39 seats. Whether the same strategy of continuing to attack the BJP will give them rich dividends even in an assembly election, that's going to be the big question.
Well, that remains to be seen. Yes, absolutely. And I'm completely out of time. So I am going to thank our panelists. But because we were talking about anti-incumbency and also the central factor which will play out, let me also tell our panelists and our viewers as well. We asked this question for all of the 3 states that we spoke about today. In West Bengal, while a larger percentage threw up in anti-incumbency against the state government, 19% said yes, there was an anti-incumbency factor against the state. There was also almost a 14% that said there is anti-incumbency against the central government. In Tamil Nadu as well, it was a similar pattern where 20.83% said yes, there is anti-incumbency against the state, while 17.67% said yes, there is anti-incumbency against the centre, which could be a factor. Interestingly, Kerala was the other way around, where we saw people, 37% people say anti-incumbency against the centre, and fewer people, a quarter, 25% saying anti-incumbency against the state, although still higher than what people had to say about Bengal and Tamil Nadu. What happens next remains to be seen. We'll keep getting you the pulse of people from on-ground reports, more surveys, and of course, our experts also telling us what's going on. Quick break. Lots more on the other side. We put the spotlight on the rising fuel prices, and we also asked the question if there is a connection on the fuel price hikes or no price hikes during election season. Stay with me.